So here's a video about estimation and how we do it in maths. And the first thing we need to think about when we're doing estimation in maths is actually a skill to do with SF. And SF stands for significant figures. In fact, all the numbers we're going to work with today will need to be rounded to one SF, one significant figure. Now, significant figures works like this. Let's say we've got a number like 280. Well, the first significant figure in my number is this first number, so the 2. So it's the 2, that's the kind of level that I'm going to round it to. Now this first number here, this 0 is the units, I've got the 8 is in the tens, and the 2 is in the hundreds. So I'm going to round it to the nearest 100. So I've put this little line down because I'm going to peek over the line, have a look, and see the 8. Now the 8 is 5 or above, so it means I need to round up my 2, and so my number actually becomes 300. Now I have to put the other zeros in, because otherwise if I just put 3, my number's rounded all the way from 280 to 3, which is clearly wrong. It has to be somewhere near 280, which 300 is. And so, excuse me, let's try another number. Let's try, say, 53. Okay, so I've got to round it to one significant figure, this thing up here. So my first significant figure on the left here is my 5. So that's where I'm going to round it. So I have another peek at the little letter just the other side of the fence, which is a 3. So I don't need to round my 5 up. So to one significant figure, my number would be 5 and 0, 50. So I'm rounding it to the nearest 10 this time. Let's try another one. Let's try 3, 0, 6, 7. So 3067. I want to round it to one significant figure, as I'm always doing in this video. So my first significant figure is this one on the left. There's my first figure. And so I'm rounding it this time to what level? Well, the 7 is the units, the 6 is the tens, 0 is in the hundreds, and the 3 is in the thousands. So I'm rounding it to the nearest 1,000. And I have a little peek over my fence that I've drawn to the 0. Well, the 0 is not 5 or above, so I don't round up my 3. I keep it as it is. Remember, my answer can't just be 3. It must be close to my original number, which is, of course, 3,000, which is close to 3067. One more example, and then we can do some estimating. Okay, so this time I'm going to put in the number of, let's do 499. Okay, so 499. Let's do it to one significant figure as always. Which is the significant figure? The first one, it's this 4 here. So cut it off. Let's have a look over the fence. Do I need to round up my 4? Yes, I do, because the next number is this 9, which is 5 or above. So I need to round up my 4 to a 5. Now, obviously, I can't leave it as 5 because my number, this 4 was in the hundreds. So my 5 is also in the hundreds column as before, so 500. Always have a look at your number and think, is it kind of similar to your original number, but a lot simpler? And being simple is what estimation is all about. Because we want to be looking at making a sum nice and easy. So for example, you might be walking around doing shopping and you might find something on sale for £3.79 and you want to know how much 5 of them is, nice and quickly, just to check you've got enough money. Well, in that case, you need to do a bit of rounding. There's no point trying to work it out exactly, it's going to take too long. You just need a rough figure. And that's exactly what estimating is all about, making sums nice and easy. So let's do our first example over here. Question 1. Let's do a sum of, why not do 280 plus 50 divided by, in this case, let's say 12. Now I could work it out, but I don't want to work it out. I want to work it out roughly. So actually, I don't really want this little equals sign here. I'm going to get rid of my equals sign because I'm going to use a slightly different sign today. I'm going to use a sign which, if I bring my pencil back, it's like a couple of curly little lines, a bit like an equal sign, but a bit wobbly, because our answer's a bit wobbly. And this sign here means approximately equal to. And approximately equal to, I'm going to take each of my numbers in turn, and I'm going to round them to one significant figure. So this first number, 280, well, the first significant figure is the 2, as we did before, and I know that 280 is actually going to round up to 300, isn't it? And I'm going to add that to this number here. Well, 50 to one significant figure. Let's have a look. Well, actually, my 50 doesn't need to round. It's already nice and round to one significant figure. So I'm just going to leave that as 50. But my number down here hasn't been rounded, so to one significant figure, there's the first significant figure. Cut it off, have a look over the fence. It's a 2. I don't need to round my number up. I leave it as a 1. But of course, 12 isn't going to round to 1. 12 is going to round to 10. So what's my sum now? Now I've got a nice easy sum. I can quite easily do this. 300 plus 50 is 350. Divide it by 10, because remember, this line means divide. What happens when I divide by 10? I move my numbers one place smaller, so the answer is roughly 35. So 280 plus 50 divided by 12 is 35. Okay, let's do another question. Number 2 then, and you can write these down in a second before you start doing some work. Let's do 115.4 times by 1.9 divided by 1.77. Okay, so we've got kind of looks like a tough sum on the face of it here, but it's all right because we're going to estimate it. All the things today are all about estimating. So my answer is going to be approximately equal to. Right, first things first, let's round our numbers to one significant place. The first significant figure here is there. It's our first number, just a little line so I remember where I'm rounding to. Now this is in which column? Well, the 5 is the units, the 1 is the tens, and this one over here is the hundreds. So this is to the nearest 100 I'm going to round this. Have a little peek over the fence. Do I need to round my 1 up? No, because it's not 5 or above next to it. So I leave it as 1. But remember, that was in the hundredths column, so it needs to be 100. And look, our number's kind of close to 100. 115.4 is close to 100. And I've got to times that by this number, so we'll round this number as well. So there's my first significant figure. Then I'm going to cut it off. Have a peek over the fence. Do I need to round my number up? Yes, I do. I need to round this 1. It'll round up to a 2. And this is the units column. So my 2 is my units. I haven't got any decimal places because I've rounded up this 1 in the units column to a 2 in the units column. So it's nothing after it. It's just 2. And divide that by this number down here. Okay, let's have another look. So this is our first significant figure. So that's what we're going to round to. Just a little line so I remember where I'm rounding to. Again, this is in the units column. Have a little peek over the fence. It's a 7. So I do need to round my number up. But again, it's in the units column. So I shall just leave it in my units. I don't need 2.00. I just have 2 because it's just in the units. Okay, now I can do the sum. Nice and easy. 100 times by 2 is 200. Divide it by 2. Well, 200 divided by 2 is 100. So my sum right back here, my 115.4 times by 1.9 divided by 1.77 is roughly equal to 100. So just to recap, don't try and work out the sums exactly. Round each number to one significant figure, which is always that first figure there in these numbers. And then once you've done that and you've simplified your numbers, you can easily work out your sum. Should be quite simple. Good luck.